Start the meeting, call it to order, start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I'll have the clerk please call the roll.
Supervisor Fountain?
Here.
Treasurer Horning?
Here.
Clerk Chopue? Here. Trustee Collier?
Here.
Trustee Germain? Here. Trustee Harper?
Here.
Trustee Petruzzi? Here.
Thank you. Item number 4 is approval of our meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Harper, second by Treasurer Horning. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Number 5 is call to the public. Anybody call to the public this evening? If you'd please come up to the podium and state your name. Thank you. And your address as well.
Oh, yes, will do. So I'm Carol Gannon from 2978 Parkway Place, Hartland, of course. And I also am Dunham Lake, which is on the Hartland side of where we live. And so we are here to ask our board of trustees to consider exploring and adopting an oak wilt ordinance, which we think we very much need.
What would be an oak wilt?
Wilt ordinance. And I did send you literature on this, so maybe some of you can find it. Maybe it didn't come in as you can look for it. I could resend it to you because it gives a lot of bullet points that we are concerned with. And so I'll explain. I probably need 1 or 2 minutes more than some of my neighbors because I've done an awful lot of exploring of what's going on with this, and I've been working very intently with Dr. Roberts, David Roberts from MSU, and he's like the lead authority in Michigan on oak wilt disease. He gave a presentation, in fact, last autumn here in Hartland. And I did, at our State of the Township address, I did speak to some of you about what he had said after the meeting, after our presentation. He said, we really need to be proactive. It's in Hartland. And he explained how it was in Hartland. He urged me to, and I did talk to some of you, and I've recently approached a few people as well here, that he would like us to adopt an ordinance. We have to be proactive, preventative. We just have too much to lose. And he also wanted immediately, in our neighborhood, of course, I told him about our community, and he said, I need to speak with your neighbors, for sure. So we would like to go ahead. Dr. Roberts described how the disease may have entered our community. It was I believe he said Livingston Road Commission had authorized some tree damage repair, and apparently they didn't use good practices, and that's always a problem. And so the oaks 3.5 miles from our community were affected. And I'll get into the pathology of it in a second. Well, I talk about oak wilt. It is a fungal disease, and it strikes fast. It often kills the red oaks, and these red oaks are the sharp-edged leaf ones, not the round leaf ones, which are the white. And they include all of these groups, including scarlet, and they include pin oak, and they include northern oak, and they include northern pin oak. We do have hybridization. The oak, to explain it, the oak that are affected will die within 4 to 8 weeks. It's so rapid that this happens. Oaks with this fungus, they develop spore sacs, and this is between the bark and the outer ring of growth. And the sap that comes from that is sweet smelling. So there's something called the sap or the picnic beetle that attacks or comes in to feast. And when they do, they carry the spores away. And they go to feast on the next tree. And when they do that, they're like vectors that bring the disease to the next set of trees. And again, the cycle goes on. And there's a different way that it can happen as well. The trees that are diseased, and this is a case where a neighboring tree had a disease, and it's, certainly we have not had the information enough out there. I do feel that. They unsuspectingly had a tree service come in. These arborists were not certified. And this is what Dr. Roberts says. You must have a certified one. They've got to, if they don't mention certain fungicides, they're out. That doesn't work. If they're doing it at the wrong season, and now in urban setting they're suggesting that it be just dormant season. So maybe as strict as December through March 1st, we should do it. And if there are warm days like 50 and over, don't do it at all. The arborists will say, I'm not doing it. It's 50 degrees. Sometimes sap beetles have known to come out and feast. So when the tree gets it, you cannot save that tree. It's gone. There's no fungicide you can use. But what happens is, now there are two different ways that have been explained, but the DNR pathologist came out as well. He explained how the tree usually is like the height of the tree plus another half of the height of the tree. He explained that the roots that stretch out, that they are conjoined with roots of other trees. White oaks, if they don't seem to intersect as much, but other red oaks do. In our case, we have a red oak. We have, I think, 17 red oaks.
Cheryl,
and so
I hate to interrupt.
I will get right to my point.
Thank you.
Okay, the point is that we need this. We are in Dunham Lake. We have, historically, we have oak, hickory that surrounds it. That's what keeps our pristine lake. It is the cleanest lake in southeast Michigan, probably southern, according to our limnologist. That is what protects our lake. On the other side of our lake, it is oak savanna with oak openings historically. If these go, this is devastating to our community. It will not have the strength, the protection. We want to say also that we are willing to work with you. I'm willing to do the footwork. A lot of our neighbors are willing to do the footwork. We've been in touch with Julie Crick from MSU Education. She's a forestry educator. She can help do a presentation to help people sort out what kind of an oak wilt ordinance do you need, how proactive, what are you looking for. She's just so knowledgeable. And so I'll conclude by just saying that we just have throughout Hartland, Round Lake, you go to the Bullard Lake Fen that the M&A owns that we're members of. We really want to protect these trees for many, many reasons. So I implore you. Thank you.
James, the process of something like this getting started, obviously she has lots of information. Who would be the right contact to bring something from an application perspective or for us to consider?
Yeah, if the board would like to consider it further, we can gather some educational materials so that you can get up to speed to make some informed decisions. Then it's a question of the board if you would like to further pursue any sort of ordinance. And then then it's up to the board whether you'd like to convene a committee or a task force. So probably.
What could we do in the short term? Because the ordinance is going to take some time. From an educational perspective, either through the website or through our Comcast station, that we're, if this is the time of the year that you need to be concerned about it, I think by the time we drafted it and had an ordinance come through, it'd probably be December.
Yeah, we could use our communication channels to, inform and educate residents about good practices. And
so would Colleen be the right contact for that? So could we get... I'm sorry, is it Cheryl?
No, it's Carol.
I'm sorry, Carol. If you could get in contact with Colleen Rosso, she's our communication liaison, and then she can, at least in the short term, get some information to our website. And I'm sure there's some other media people that might pick up on that as an opportunity as well. Anything?
Another person I think who wants to speak.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Terry Gannon. I know Carol quite well. We live at the same address, 2978 Parkway Place. We're married. I just want to say a few more things about the oak wilt disease. I'll be very short. We found some information from the village of Cronenwetter, Wisconsin. And I'm going to read from one of their documents. In all, 578 trees were identified as actively dying, while 1,236 trees were considered to have died as a result of oak wilt disease. This is in 2014, just a couple years ago. From the U.S. Department of Agriculture document reads this way in the introduction: oak wilt is an aggressive disease that affects many species. It is one of the most serious diseases in the eastern United States, killing thousands of oaks each year in forests, homes, and landscapes. From the Michigan State University Extension Service, it's one of the more pernicious exotic forest diseases currently affecting Michigan forests. It spreads easily, often with the help of people, and remains in an oak stand until all the oaks are dead. I have several other quotes. They all go on about the same way. It's very serious.
What I would suggest is if you have that literature, if you either make copies or bring it into the township, they can make copies.
I have it here.
And then we can discuss that at our administration meeting internally, and then bring it back to the board for consideration.
Okay. I do want to say further, though, that the probably working on this is going to be costly, but it's going to be more costly to have to remove all the trees that are killed, and it is probably going to affect property values if we don't interfere.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Can I give this
to James, please? Thank you. Yes.
Hello. Carol Pettifer, 2888 Parkway Place, Hartland. The majestic oak, our national tree, a national treasure, but it doesn't stand a chance against oak wilt. Once affected, it dies within months or often weeks. I'm going to set aside my remarks, and I'm going to read what my husband and I presented, John Pettifer, husband of 50 years, 2888 Parkway. We thank you for your time and attention. There's an urgent need for consideration, adoption, and implementation of Hartland Township, Highland Township, and other Michigan municipalities for a resolution, an ordinance, and public education and awareness before the next warm weather season, which can start about April 1st, 2017. I will not repeat what Mrs. Gannon spoke about. I have lots of details about when it should be done. That's been well documented, and Dave Roberts at MSU is the best source to clarify that. Several townships in Michigan and throughout our country have adopted such resolutions in recent years, including the Charter Township of Bloomfield, Oakland County, Michigan, and Genoa Charter Township, Livingston County, in addition to others in the southeastern Michigan that I've been able to be in touch with. Hartland residents would also love to help our township develop such an ordinance and help educate and develop public awareness. We'll be happy to do your work. We'd like to do that because we want to save our trees, and I don't know if you all have oaks, but all of them in the community. The golf courses in Hartland would also appreciate an ordinance and guidance in the preservation of their valuable numerous oak trees, such as Dunham Hills, where I stopped today, and they looked out and said, look at all these oaks. All of us don't want this disease, oak wilt, to create the same pervasive destruction. Many of you are too young to remember, but Dutch elm disease, Emerald ash borer. This follows the same way. University of Michigan paid about $400,000 a few years ago to transplant a multi-centuries-old stately oak tree. They recognize the national tree as a national treasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And in respect for time, if somebody has something new to bring to the table, that would be great. Because we're not going to be able to act on this evening. We're gathering information. So if you have information that's similar to what's been presented, if you would either leave that here or get it to us tomorrow, we can make copies, and then we'll get our arms around this topic and get a handle on what's happening. But if you have something new, sir, we'd love to hear it.
Fabulous, Bill. Thank you. The only thing I have to add to what my wife Carol just said and read and paraphrased is the idea that the golf courses that I know you have a special interest in would really appreciate guidance in terms of the whole oak wilt disease issue. And we have a lot of great golf courses, including Majestic, that I have trouble playing and keeping the ball in bounds and not against the oak trees. And that's all I have to add. I guess the other thing at the bottom of what Carol and I put together is that the $400,000 that U of M paid to have an oak tree move from one location to another on their campus is an excessive amount of money compared with the probably minimal cost for our great township to adopt such a resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Again, if other people have additional information, if you can get it to the township, we will start the discussion process, and any information, even short-term, if you could get a one-pager to us from the experts, we can disseminate that and maybe even get it in people's hands this fall somehow, at least in front of them. Thank you. Anybody else for call to the public this evening? Being none, we'll move on to our next item, which is approval of our consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Trustee Kalani, second by Trustee Petrucci. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We'll move on to board reports. Our first meeting, and we don't have any regular business tonight, so we're going to have a short meeting here, then we'll go into a work session. Our first meeting in October starts with Clerk Shofu.
Absentee voter ballots should be mailed out on Thursday. The first batch is going to be about 1,250 ballots that will be sent out. The last day to register to vote for the November 8th election is October 11th. Absentee voter applications is available on the website, and you can submit an absentee ballot application up until the November 2nd, or November 6th date. It's a Saturday, to get a ballot back by mail. My recommendation would be a little earlier than that. I would say November 2nd. And that's it.
Thank you. Treasurer Horning.
Tomorrow is the Tony Sacco's fundraiser. Dwight Sacco founded the American Legion Ladies Auxiliary, and it's even good on takeout pizza tomorrow. And if anybody wants me to send them a flyer to turn in, 15% of the proceeds go right to our veteran projects here in Hartland. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Kalani.
Nothing.
Trustee Germain.
I just wanted to provide another update on the ongoing project in Hartland to remediate a former gas processing plant on Lone Tree Road. The responsible party is Merritt Industries, and they have now tested over 80 private wells within a 1-mile radius, and all of them have come back non-detected. And they did submit another work plan to the DEQ last week. It also provided information on the latest quarterly sampling events at the site itself. And based on the samples that were collected last July, the contamination still is contained within the original 5-acre parcel. And because of the geology, it appears that it's actually been going down as opposed to going away, if you understand what I mean. It's sinking vertically, it's heavier than water, and because there's a lot of sand and gravel in the area, they did put in another well, and they now have in the vicinity of the former excavation pit contaminated groundwater at about 45 feet below the surface, and we don't know yet how much deeper it is beyond that. There's more testing, more wells are supposed to go in this month in October.
They're planning on the treatment works, though, correct? Like that's the next step.
Yes, it is.
What could that entail?
Because it's a water-soluble chemical, and because it's contained in a relatively small area, the most likely scenario for remediation would be a large diameter groundwater pump, a well with a pump, and then they would treat the water right on site. They've done slug testing already, which shows that it's a sand and gravel aquifer, which we kind of knew, but it just proves it, so to speak. And once they get a couple more wells in, including this pumping well, they will do a pump test, and that will help determine how fast and where other recovery wells would need to be located. And from the road, they have about 85% of the backfill and earthwork completed now, and they should be putting down a cover crop for the winter relatively soon. So the site is, it's from the standpoint of soil erosion and those types of things, those have all been addressed.
So it's fair to say they're confident right now the results are on the site, that
Yes.
the 5-acre site, and it's
They've
going.
been monitoring it for almost a year, and none of the perimeter wells have had any hits. So.
Okay. I appreciate you taking the lead as our spokesperson on that, and I'm sure the next, maybe next week or next 2 weeks, if something comes up, you'll make sure that information is available. And James, are we putting that on the website as well?
Yeah, we just uploaded it today, that most recent report.
It's from September 26th is the date.
Yep.
So again, anybody that's home watching, if anybody is, or in the audience, you go to our website, and all of the information coming from Merit Energy and the DEQ is coming and being posted on our website, and also, I believe, Highland Township?
Yes.
As well. Thank you, Matt. Anything else?
No, sir.
Trustee Harper?
No report.
Trustee Petrucci?
No report.
I thought I had a report, but I don't think I do. I got to put my glasses on to see. I have no report this evening. We'll go to the manager's report. Manager Wickman?
You want to take a brief recess first, or you want to press on?
Yes, we could do that. I thought there was something else I was going to bring up, but I can't remember what it was. It looks like we'll just talk about the stuff at the discussion. So we'll take a brief recess, and then we'll get on to our work session.
If any of the students are here and need to have their papers signed, you can come and talk to any one of us.
If you're a student and you want to have your agenda signed, Matt Germain